Antonio,
Hi.
how are you?
Yeah, a little bit nervous.
A little bit nervous.
Yeah, but it's cool.
It's a bit normal. That's fine. How was
Mm.
your journey down to Birmingham?
It was all right. Yeah, it was nice.
That's
Yeah,
good. Have you been to Birmingham before?
I've been here before, but it was quite a while back.
Mm.
Yeah, not really.
Oh,
No,
okay, that's
I
fine.
came here for a brief
Yeah.
encounter.
So just let us know a little bit about your childhood.
My childhood. So I was born in South Africa. I was there till the age of 7 years old. Before my parents moved over back to our native country, Madeira.
Mm.
We were there for around 6 years, and then ultimately, my parents decided to come here to the UK for a better way of life. My upbringing in South Africa, I don't really remember much, um, apart from a couple of things I'll mention later on, so it makes
Mm.
sense. Um, but yeah, one of the reasons why my parents moved back to Madeira was it was all of that stuff going on with Nelson Mandela and stuff,
Mm.
so on and so forth. And
Apartheid, is that what it's called, or
sorry.
the apartheid?
I don't really know. No, I don't really know. I just know my parents moved to Madeira because things was really rough, and there was a lady that sometimes looked after me, and she was
Hmm.
enticing my mum that she left. It was too dangerous.
Mm.
Apparently, there was rumors there was a witch doctor or something like that was after me at the school. I was born with white and blonde hair,
Hmm.
and yeah, there was a lot of concern for our safety. So yeah, we went to South Africa. And South Africa was, so I must have been what, yeah, 7 years old. That was a little bit confusing because my parents used to tell me that I was Portuguese,
Mm.
um, and that was my home. I used to get bullied a lot, you know. I just kind of struggled. Um, I remember being circled by a bunch of dudes getting spat on. I can't say that was fun. And so yeah, it was really confusing because my parents told me this was my native country, and they were spitting on me, telling me to go to F off back to my home. So yeah, that was a bit weird to
Mm.
process. Um, yeah, I had fun. It was nice growing up. Um, Apart from just always the uneasiness around blokes and so on and so forth, just never feeling comfortable.
Hmm.
Yeah, just bullying, right? Growing up and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, we were finding our feet, and I was finding my feet, and always just felt a little bit inadequate. And that sums me up really growing up.
Mm.
Coming into the UK, I always felt uncomfortable under my own skin. I felt really timid around girls and around blokes as well. I just didn't feel. I just struggled with social anxiety, I suppose.
So your teenage years, like college, did you go to university and anything like that?
No, I just went from school to college. At school, I done really bad. I got really bad grades, D's,
Mm.
E's, and F's. Um, and yeah, school was a weird one. I was diagnosed with dyslexia,
Mm.
and I think the problem really was that I was just learning. I had to learn another language all over again. I had to learn English, so it didn't help that I kind of was just trying to fit in, be a bit of a class clown. Um, didn't really know myself, and so on and so forth. Just finding my feet. So I started hanging around with the idiots, so to speak. You know, um, just yeah, smoking weed and so on and so forth. Started smoking cigarettes as well. Going into college, I got really lucky to get into college. I wanted to be a graphic designer,
Mm-hmm.
but I remember walking into college, and I could hear music. It was like, doof, 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 doof.
Mm.
And walking a bit further down, there was a couple of lads beatboxing and MCing and so on and so forth. And yeah, it was all downhill from there. Yeah, I was just drawn towards them. We became fast friends. Um, Before you know, I wanted to be an MC. I was being called Slick MC. Started writing bars. The Macintosh that my dad bought me,
Mm-hmm.
that I promised, look, Dad, I won't mess up. Because my dad, I remember when we went to the college for the interview, um, and they gave me the chance to go, even though I didn't have the grades. My dad was like, look, son, you have to up to school, and this is your last opportunity. This is your last chance to make something of yourself, before you get into the real world. I was like, yeah, Dad, I'll be all right, I promise. but yeah, just started doodling instead and making beats
Mm.
and then yeah, pretty much discovered porn, discovered MySpace for the first time, and so on and so forth. And that's all I used to do on it, Macintosh, and just blew it all, you know. On MySpace, I met a girl. Um, you know, because of course, if you're watching porn and so on and so forth, before you know it, you're just fantasizing about experiencing a real thing, and that's
Mhm.
exactly what ended up happening for me. And yeah, and of course, if you enjoy porn and all of that by yourself, well, when you experience a real thing, that's on the next level, right?
Mm.
And and so that became an addiction in itself because when I met her, it was exciting. It was really
Yeah.
exciting, and you know, seeing her all the time and having those first experiences. But I never realized that I'd end up falling in love, you know, as a consequence of just being intimate and so on and so forth. But she was bad news. Now the trouble is, I ended up getting into a situation with her, moving into a place with her parents because I had a massive argument with my parents.
Mhm.
As a result from school, college, and so on and so forth, messing up. My parents used to just despair me, you know, rightly so, having messed up and been a bit of a disappointment and just um, yeah, just being reckless and being careless.
Yeah.
That I ended up moving in with her, and then for the next 7 years, just literally from hers to my parents to hers from my parents, like the relationship me and my ex, you know, was toxic. We were just bad news for each other, just both as insecure as one another, and always arguing and
Mm.
just always getting up to all sorts of trouble. I ended up having a son with her, and it was interesting how I ended up having a son with her. Um, you know, for the 7 years that I was with her, I meant to leave her. I wanted to leave her. She used to cheat on me and stuff. Like I ended up in prison because he was sometimes abusive and because I'd stick up for myself and so on and so forth. And what ended up happening when I had an altercation with the police, I didn't know that what you say will be used against you.
Yeah.
And I just wanted help. I didn't have anywhere to go to. I didn't know who to talk to.
Mhm.
And so I opened my big mouth, and that's when the solicitor said, "Look, why didn't you wait for me? You know, you incriminated yourself." Going back to like when I had a son with her, it was one of those things when she went on holiday. I tried to get my revenge. She went out with the girls, and I thought I'd arrange another woman, and that never really ended up happening. But when she came back from her holiday, um, she ended up going through my laptop, like she usually would just go through my phone and whatnot. And we didn't argue that night. And I imagine it's because she thought that, I expect she thought she saw it coming or she, or something happened on holiday. I don't know. But for whatever reason, we, you know, to right our wrongs, we was just made love. You know, that made everything all right. And that night we made love. And I said to her if we should conceive a child. Um, and yeah, it was exciting. You know, we were going to be a family, and I thought that would make it. That's what we needed. You know, that would make everything all right. The trouble is when we had my son, which I fell in love just for the first time. You know, with the little mini me. Just
Mhm.
yeah, I fell in love so hard. It was one of the most beautiful moments of my life. But we used to argue again. We started arguing again, and I just couldn't handle it around my son.
Mhm.
I just couldn't handle it. And I guess I started to realize that I deserved better for myself. You know, I never knew my worth. I just, you know, I was just always struggled with low self-esteem and confidence. So what ended up happening after the breakup, I ended up going back to my parents
Mhm.
and I ended up moving to my parents. But what I didn't realize was when I was breaking up with her that I was also breaking up with my son. And it crushed me. It wasn't long before we were getting into altercations and me and the mother not seeing eye to eye. She'd used my son as a weapon, and that just killed me, really. Yeah, being a single father has been one of the hardest experiences I've experienced in my life. You know, just feeling like um, unable to see your children and unable to make a difference, unable to just be really be there as much as you'd like, and also with the thoughts that another man will just be around eventually more than
Mhm.
you could. One week, I was looking forward to having my son during the week. Came Friday to pick up my son, And me and her got into a silly altercation, something about the letters.
Mhm.
There was letters. There was always going to my mum's, and she was always asking me to just give them to her, and I just got a bit silly with it, just like sort your letters out, one of those, you know.
Mhm.
And she ended up saying, you know what, you can go fuck yourself now. You're not having your son. And I knew exactly what would happen that night. I would just get rejected. I would be crying all night, and yeah, just messaging all night. And for whatever reason, I thought it'd be a good idea to just get on the phone and um, and score some drugs. I didn't really know what I was leading myself into. Really, I experimented before, but it was nothing. It was just a bit of a luxury, something you just do sometimes when you went out partying, which was quite rare. Um, and yeah, I called around just trying to score some coke. But the dealer said he didn't have any coke. He said he had some MCAT methadone. And at that time, about 13, 15 years ago, it was a legal high. You could
Mhm.
get it at the record shops where you could buy tickets for to go to music festivals or whatnot. You know those places they used to be in the
Yeah.
high street. I don't think they're available anymore, are they? But you could buy them from there. Although he just said not for human consumption, plant fertilizer or something. But he
Mhm.
got you. It was kind of in a mix of ecstasy and cocaine. Anyhow, it was a fraction of the price of cocaine. It was really cheap. It was like about £10 a gram. And I thought, F it. Um, it seemed like a good idea at the time when I picked up. Anyhow, when I did pick up, I went home and had a couple of lines, and all of a sudden, just the overwhelming thoughts and all the overwhelming feelings that I was having just disappeared, and I enjoyed myself. Now, you know, boys being boys, usual thing. Came like bedtime and so on and so forth. You know, often I would just go and watch porn, and that's when the penny dropped. I was still under the influence, out of line, and so on and so forth, and I didn't realize it until at the time until quite recent times that porn and stems is a deadly combination.
Mhm.
The euphoria and so on and so forth, and the pleasure overload. And and so not only because of the sense of escape that it provided me, I didn't know at the time as well that I was borderline suicidal. I was having dark thoughts and just I hated my life. So yeah, the drugs was well, a relief, you know, it just relieved me from the distress and discomfort that I felt within me, and also not having anywhere really to go to. I couldn't talk to mum, I couldn't talk to dad, I couldn't talk to anyone because it would only lead to arguments, and that only just ever made things worse. So the drugs became not just my love affair, but as well something I really looked forward to.
Mhm.
I'm a plasterer by trade. I used to work really hard. I remember working back then as well. Like sometimes I just go home and want to cry because my boss was mad as a box of frogs. And you know, it's a really hard job. You just at it nonstop like a headless chicken. It's really labor intensive. So for one, I'd come home, I'm battered, covered in shit, plaster everywhere. I look a mess, which just made me hate myself more as well and just look down on myself. And so, yeah, the one thing that I really looked forward to was just get on the drugs. Came Friday, came over the weekend. But the weekend, something that I do over the weekend just turned something that I started doing throughout the week.
Mhm.
Now, as a result of using the drugs and so on and so forth, I started to push the limit more and more. So I take like massive lines under each nostril and so on and so forth, just so I could then indulge with porn. It's what I really look forward to. It's all I lived for.
Mhm.
It's if I led myself to believe that the only fun thing to do was to just get on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I pretty much lived my life for about 13 years. But the problem is, it became an obsession. It became this crazy lifestyle. Initially, looking for women and so on and so forth to have experiences, but then having these experiences with women, one of which then afterwards the come downs and the withdrawals and the panic attack and the insanity of the withdrawals afterwards was just too much to just be around someone else as well. So I preferred being by myself. But I also just started to explore with different aspects of my body. I started to, you know, under the influence, it used to just make me so aroused, so horny, that I just started experimenting with different areas, different parts of my anatomy just started
Mhm.
to feel aroused.
Mhm.
And so I started experimenting with my prostate. And yeah, that's what ended up leading into an unhealthy obsession, because I never ended up having an orgasm on any of these experiences. Because I was always like a meerkat. I was always paranoid. I was always just self-conscious.
Yeah.
I was always just wondering if anybody could hear me, and that was bad enough anyhow without all of that. But yeah, so that just added more towards how I felt about myself. I always felt inadequate and so on and so forth. But now also being a heterosexual man, like you know, doing, going through these sorts of activities um, with myself, which I've only been able to heal. I've only started to heal from quite recently, from allowing myself to get past the shame and get past the self-judgment and criticism and alienation and abandoning my own self, um, and also the fear of like what everyone else thinks of me, and unable to just be myself.
So what
Yeah,
is the feeling of behind, I guess, coke and is it MCAT that you were taking?
yeah,
Is it similar? Like
yeah.
what does it feel like?
Just complete euphoria. Just
Mm,
complete euphoria. You feel alive. You're rushing. You feel exhilarated.
mm,
It just you floods you with dopamine and makes you. For me personally, the reason why I loved it was I discovered it made me really horny,
mm.
and I loved it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, because I know a lot of people say like a lot of people higher up take coke and
yeah,
things like that, and they call it, I guess they call it the rich people
yeah.
drug. They say that it helps them concentrate, like businessmen and things like that. Is that the kind of euphoria that it gives you, or?
Yeah, so I suppose the reason why I had hypersexuality, so to speak, because
Hmm.
obviously with everything that I just mentioned, but also makes you hyper focused.
Hmm.
So that sense of being able to um, was what you said. What was the word? So
Um,
you can perform better,
Concentrate. Yeah, yeah.
concentrate, and so
Hmm.
on and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes you hyper focused
Oh,
and
okay.
makes you sidetracked.
Mm.
Just
So, what is a come down? Talk us through what
oh
would
my
your come
god,
down look like?
the come down's brutal.
Mm.
Um, You're just fiending, clacking, the withdrawals, panic attack, shame, self-hatred, humiliation, um, just really low and depressed and down and really dark place.
Hmm. With, I guess, cocaine and MCAT, is there a reason? Well, I don't know, but I'm assuming, is there a reason that you didn't go further? Because I know a lot of people that are addicted to, like, I guess, your class A drugs,
Yeah.
which are seen as terrible, like crack, cocaine, heroin, etc. Is there a reason why you never got to that stage?
No, I found my medicine.
Mm,
That's all it is. So when it comes to drugs, whether it's alcohol, marijuana, and so on and so forth, usually what ends up coming out from addiction is the individual is just so uncomfortable under their own skin. And the drugs isn't really the problem; it's
mm-hmm.
the solution
Yeah.
to escape from um, what I've mentioned. So no, he never really dabbled into anything else because I discovered what I loved
Mm.
and I secretly enjoyed it. So there was no need to go into anything else because, yeah. And plus, I used to just do it by myself. So I was never under the influence or put myself in a situation where I might be subjected to influence by someone else.
I know that you said that obviously the guy didn't have coke, but what made you want to go for coke in the first place?
I really don't know. I don't know. It was just one of those things. I suppose I experimented with it before, and I suppose part of me had that association that I felt alive, perhaps, or I could have fun.
Hmm.
Because initially, when I got the MCAT, I just got home and I put some music and so on and so forth. So I'm just kind of vibing. And initially, just something that I was just vibing with and just just lowered my inhibitions,
Yeah.
and just um, yeah, all my problems just disappeared, and I wasn't focused anymore on my problems.
It's like a getaway, really. Like,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I did take steroids. Yeah. How they ended up turning out was I met another lady, and I ended up falling in love again, and she was a lovely lady. I ended up moving in with her, And yeah, it was. Don't really have much to say about it, other than we ended up having a daughter, and yeah, I had every opportunity to come clean with the drugs. But like I said, it was just a mad one. I had that association and developed that relationship with drugs, one of which I secretly enjoyed it and what for. And obviously that obsession, wanting to have an experience that for 10 years I never got to experience. It was madness because
Mm.
the problem is I'd end up also going on Reddit trying to understand what the hell was going on and what I was doing myself to also then understand what was going on and why. But she wasn't into that neither. And although we would party and so on and so forth, she was just uncomfortable with that sort of stuff, which often made me feel a little bit inadequate myself to also question myself if perhaps I should question my sexuality,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, the steroids, yeah, like I said, I had every opportunity to knock the drugs on the head. Initially, the MCAT became illegal here at the UK. I think something to do with China, because anybody found with the chemicals that they use to mix and make methadone,
Hmm.
you could get punished by death or something like that in China. So it just became dry here in the UK. So I had every opportunity to I had every opportunity to come clean. But I remember calling around trying to substitute and called the dealer, and I was like, is there anything like MCAT and so on and so forth, and what's coke like? Because I forgot what coke was like because I was
Hmm.
doing methadone for a long time, and asking him if it makes you horny. And oh, seriously, oh, you're right. And yeah, so like MCAT at the time was like £10, then it went up to like £30 a gram, and now coke was like £100 a gram.
Mm.
So I'm substituting for that, so it was a lot more dear. But when we had a daughter, you know, just backward thinking. I just, instead of cleaning up my act, innately, I knew that I had to be the protector. Um, I felt, I felt like when I had a girl, I had to move different.
Mhm.
I wanted to be able to keep her safe and keep my family safe. I just didn't know that I had to keep them safe away from myself. And the backward thinking, I decided to just get on steroids instead, and that just made things worse. It never made me feel any better, really, as well. Even though I had an amazing physique and so on and so forth, I was always insecure. I could never appreciate my aesthetics or nothing. Um, and yeah, it just made me more highly strung, made me God forbid, arguments. Um, and yeah, initially that's how my daughter's mother ended up leaving me. She used to give me ultimatums, sadly, only when we argued.
Mhm.
We never much really spoke when we're going about our day to day, like sending me down and like, da, 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 you better sort your shit out. It was only in arguments she was just say she would leave me. And so I never really took it serious. I thought that was normal. I grew up like that. Just when people lose their tongue or under the influence or whatnot, then they say stuff. They
Mhm.
say you're a piece of shit or this, that, and the other. And so I thought that's just how it was when we had arguments. And she didn't really mean it. It was just things we just say because we're mad at the time. But I didn't really know that she meant it. And yeah, with one day we had a massive argument, and same old thing. Like when we argued, I was just so defensive. I wasn't taking any responsibility. I was in denial, and just yeah, on top of everything, defending myself,
Mhm.
screaming through the rooftops. And she ended up running upstairs. She grabbed her stuff with my daughter in her arms, and then run back downstairs. Um, ran out the back door, shut it behind her, and walked to the car. And that's it. She left. And in that moment, I dropped like a sack of potatoes. And that was it. She never came back.
But you've seen your daughter since, no? Have you?
No, I didn't get to see my daughter for about a year after that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, from that moment, I didn't really get to see my daughter for about a year. Some complications
Mhm.
that was going on, and she didn't trust me because of the drugs, which is
Mhm.
fair enough.
So after she left,
Yeah.
did that help you say, I need to get off the drugs, or did it actually get worse?
No, it didn't help. It just got worse. I was living by myself, so
Mm,
then I could just do whatever I wanted to do. Um, I was in a really bad place. It was really dark. What was really scaring me because I wasn't seeing my daughter. So me and her can talk. It came to a point that she blocked me off social media, everything. Um, don't make decisions when you're emotional. Um,
mm,
is what I learned. And yeah, and I suffocated her as well. Just right, just instead of
mm.
just leaving her, I'd done myself no favors and being an idiot as well. You know, reflecting back, my head really was just not in this right mind. Because on top of everything, just joining dating apps and so on and so forth, when I should have just, you know,
So steroids, because I know obviously a lot of people have a lot of connotation about steroids and
yeah.
how what 'cause in my head steroids is for bodybuilders. That's all most people know. But obviously you've used it because COVID was too expensive, so you started to use steroids. So
No,
what's
no, no, no,
steroids like?
no. So I I substituted MCAT for cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
And then the steroids was just something I started doing because I was just insecure.
Okay.
And I was knocking around with a guy at work who used to do steroids. And I don't know, I thought it was a good idea to get on steroids. I guess I just wanted to be bigger, tough and strong, to
Mm-hmm.
make up for everything that was going on and the fact that I was just a mess.
Is there a
So
comedown for steroids? Because
no,
the
no.
drug,
So
or is there?
it's just a performance drug.
Mm-hmm.
It just fills up your muscles, makes your recovery a lot faster, and builds muscle.
Okay.
Yes. So no such thing as yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a performance drug. It's not the same as any other drugs.
Mm.
That
When your daughter and your ex-partner left and you were in that dark time, how long did that go on for?
that went on for ages. I believe we broke up in uh, early 2019, mid 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really remember.
Mm-hmm.
I just know it was a really dark time. It was going on for ages. It was pretty scary because it was so dark that I was wondering if the kitchen knife to my throat was a way to go about it. And that was scary. But something interesting ended up happening, one of which I discovered psychedelics, a compound called dimethyltryptamine.
Mm.
And I believe that dimethyltryptamine is what initially saved my life because I ended up having a spiritual awakening. Basically, under the influence of dimethyltryptamines or psychedelics such as magic mushrooms, ayahuasca, they dissolve your ego.
Mm-hmm.
And what ended up happening was I had this moment. The way that I like to describe it is, in the Matrix, the point afterwards when Neo takes, I think it's the red pill.
Mm.
It gets given the blue and the red pill, and he
Mm-hmm.
takes the red pill, right? And then all of a sudden, like he wakes up in an incubator. He's inside an incubator with all that gunk and all the pipes and so on and so forth. So the experience I had was pretty much like I was in that incubator, and then all of a sudden, just I come out that incubator, and I've got all these pipes, and I'm just ripping it out of me, and I'm just like, and all of a sudden, I just realize I'm alive.
Mm.
And that was the experience that I had, this awakening, if you will, to just realize that, I'm alive. It was as if I was all my life just struggling with amnesia,
Mm.
just going about life, which is not really a second thought, just going from day to day, week to week, and so on and so forth. And I realized that I've got a victim frame of mind, that the relationship with myself was really, really fragile. And, uh, and it just propelled me into personal development.
Mm.
And initially, that's what ended up happening. I started to read for the first time, and I read a book that mentioned about the benefits of creating a vision board. And yeah, I took it upon myself to create a vision board, and I'm glad I did because it just offered me hope.
Mm.
I started to just explore how else life could be like.
Yeah.
It's really interesting about the vision board because I left a gap on the vision board. I didn't really know what else to put on the vision board, and one day Antonio did whatever Antonio did. getting on drugs. And the purpose of the vision board really was to have besides my wall, whenever I woke up to look at first thing in the morning, as well as to see it first thing in the evening or when I went to bed. So, but after the drugs that come down and so on and so forth, the insanity and everything that comes with the drugs afterwards, in my mind's eye, I could see my daughter's mother outside with our daughter in her hands, with the family as well, with all the neighbours, just literally
Mhm.
outside, pointing at the window, a bedroom window. You should be disgusted with yourself. You know, we know what you're up to. And I'm just having these panic attacks, you know, just like my heart's racing and I'm just struggling with paranoia and the shame and like you've done it again, you know, and just and I don't know why I felt guided. I just got up, grabbed a pen, and wrote on the vision board that I would write a book,
Mhm.
inspired by Russell Brand for his openness and charisma, and Eckhart Tolle for his spirituality and wisdom. And I remember I used to just look at that and just think, what, you write a book? Like,
Mhm.
how would it be interesting? And who would give a fuck? And dyslexic you, stupid you, really? And always just kind of like laughing, just like, just silly you, you know? But the lockdowns happened.
Mhm.
And yeah, look, I hadn't seen my daughter for to a year. Um, and it was tough, man. I was going to downgrade from the place that she left because she ended up leaving me, and we lived in a 2-bedroom house, but I ended up staying there. But I thought it was a good idea previous to the lockdowns to downgrade. I was going to get into a shared house, which was a bold and courageous move from my part because I was so comfortable um, having my own company and not having to share a kitchen as you do, like
Yeah.
in a house share or bathrooms. But I ended up finding an ensuite that I was happy with. But then, yeah, the lockdowns happened, and even though I put my deposit down, my brother used to live with my mum and dad, as well as my sister. They were there, and everyone was like, "Oh, just come here with us. You know, you can
Mhm.
sleep in the lounge. It'd be best if we just all stay with one another and could look after one another." My mum works in Sainsbury's, so I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. She could just get food, and we ain't got to worry, and so on and so forth. You know, it'd be cool. And because I was kind of panicking, to be honest with you, like how I would survive by myself, having to go to the shops and so on and so forth. So yeah, I moved in with my parents. But I think the lockdowns was a great thing for many of us. One of which it just offered this the opportunity to just hit the brakes,
Mhm.
pause, reflect, and that also happened with my daughter's mother. One of which I eventually was able to see my daughter, which was good, and to start making amends. With me, yeah, I thought it was a good idea to look at that book, and I started to write the book, and it was a gift that I gave myself because, well, I didn't have anyone to talk to. I just couldn't talk to anyone. I couldn't talk to mom. I couldn't talk to my dad. I couldn't talk to my sister. I couldn't talk to my brother. There was nowhere that I could go to. It would just always lead into arguments, and I could just never just like da 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 and just feel safe to just freely just express myself without either being shut down, being told I'm being silly, and the same old thing that always felt like my thought process doesn't matter, my feelings doesn't matter, which was something I was too familiar with for the best portion of my life. So yeah, the book was just an opportunity to just go full crazy and talk to myself and start journaling. And I took it upon myself. I just wanted to understand what led me to become the troubled man that I was at the time, and started to reverse engineer my life, just going backwards and taking it as far as back as to wonder what it was like being born in, you know, if perhaps being born from my mother was our first traumatic experience, being born into this world. If it wasn't bad enough for our mother, you know, the pain that she had endured. I mean, what was it like to be forced out, you know?
Mhm.
And yeah, I didn't know that I was going to end up writing a conscious frame of work, just trying to understand what makes us who we are and what makes us do the things that we do. And I ended up writing a book called The Lockdown on Self-Love, How to Make Suffering Work for You, which is available on Amazon if you want to check out the links. Why the title, The Lockdown on Self-Love? Well, the lockdown, because I wrote it, the lockdowns, how to make, um, on self-love, because what you do when you understand that you hate yourself,
Mhm.
which I found out through my writing process. Well, the remedy really is to love yourself, isn't it? And I then found out why I hated myself and why all my life I've just been really uncomfortable. While most of my life, all my life for as long as I can remember, I was just like, as if I was arm's length through life, just looking at life through these foggy lenses, just kind of like on fly mode. Not, I'm trying to be myself, but I can't be myself. And I linked it to when I was in South Africa, when I was 4 years old. So when I was 4 years old, I ended up having a sexual encounter with another boy the same age as me. He had my bits and bobs in his mouth, and I had his bits and bobs in my mouth.
Mm.
And yeah, I found out. I linked that to why I hated myself. And sadly, all my life, I just resented myself. I resented my inner child. I resented the things that I did. I was ashamed of myself and was never capable or understood um, that I could forgive myself until recent times, which was which has been a big portion of a big part of my healing journey to just allow myself to be vulnerable and allow myself to just be unapologetically myself, trying to doing my best to dissolve the illusion of what everyone's going to think of me and instead thinking about myself and holding myself with integrity and showing myself respect and compassion, which is something I've never been able to do. And yeah, that was really interesting. And then I found out as well, not just that memory from South Africa, but in Madeira, I was groomed by older lads and so on and so forth. So yeah, that wasn't really comfortable. So what really ended up happening was the realization of what led me to do a lot of the things that I was doing when I was growing up, because in early development that plant was seeded.
Mhm.
So the drugs just allowed me to just have my inhibitions lower and explore something that I had no idea really what I was up to and why. And the fascination really of the whole exploration with myself to understand myself better and what led me to become the man that I was. Yeah, which has been such a beautiful journey, and I'm really, really grateful for.
Well done, by the way,
Thank
before
you.
I carry on. Well done to you and writing your book and
Thank you.
coming to sobriety. So, in terms of like your coaching, what made you think, oh, I think I want to help other people?
Yeah. Well, very fascinating. So one evening, I decided to sit myself down and I told myself that I wouldn't get up until I figured out what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And I told myself that I wasn't going to bed, nothing. If it took hours, if it took days, I wasn't going to get up.
Hmm.
And I came up with this concept called Uvolve, a business to help other people. See, what I found out was to just give my life meaning and purpose and to create a version of myself, one of which I get excited for waking up in the morning, to just give myself something to live for. I had nothing going on for myself. Um, and, most of my life, I just felt like I was just an oxygen thief, like, I was better off dead. And yeah, so a lot of what ended up giving birth that evening when I sat myself down was to just give myself a service. I didn't know that I was just being a service to myself, though.
Hmm.
um, really. I was just giving myself and helping myself. And as a byproduct, you just naturally end up wanting to. Well, I was just being selfish for the right reasons for the first time in my life to be ambitious and wonder, how I could even um, make something of myself and give life my best shot. And coaching came into the realization. But it's really interesting because everything that I've built over the last 5 years has been a way to hold myself accountable and hold myself to a high
Wow.
standard, one of which I couldn't even compromise it myself even if I wanted to, because well, everything that I've built so far is to just create myself into the individual, and one of which that version of me no longer exists, and
Yeah.
I get to grow. And so the whole aim was to create a lifestyle, one of which I'm always growing, I'm always developing as a person. Um, just, yeah, just giving myself the best of opportunity, really. So, yeah, coaching, well, I hired a coach for the first time around the time that I wrote my book. And it was the best thing that I ever experienced in my life.
Hmm.
It was for the first time in my life, someone took their time of day to just listen to me, didn't interrupt me, didn't speak over me, uh, gave me a safe space. I was seen, I was heard, I was felt. They asked me questions, they prodded for more, they sought to understand. And from that lesson, I also learned that some people, wow, like some people listen to reply, but some people listen to understand. And there was this person just so attentive to want to understand what made me tick and to reflect that back at me.
Mm.
And that was a big turning point in my life to like, wow, I want some of this. You know, I love this. And um, I discovered coaching. And so I went on to become a coach myself, helping men as well to overcome their substance abuse and rebuild their lives.
Well done. Well,
Thank you.
thank you for coming down today. Can you tell everyone where they can find you, if they want to get into your coaching or listen to you speak, etc.?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you check out the links below, I'll have the link for my book, the website. You can check me out on TikTok at uvolve with Antonio. I'm also on Instagram. I don't use that much really. I'm mainly on TikTok. You can also send me a private message by accessing my website, www.uvolve.co.uk. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Um, yeah, I look forward to going through the comments and so on and so forth. And yeah, thank you for making time
It's all right.
for me here.
It was lovely
Nice to
having
meet
you,
you.
lovely meeting you, and congratulations on your sobriety. And I hope
Thank you.
you carry on in your endeavors in coaching because I think you'll be very helpful for specifically other men as well.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, I just wanted to add one of the reason why I'm so open is because, well, it's a permission slip for others as well to speak their truth. Because the only way really towards recovery is to just be able to embrace who we really are and our experiences, to overcome our shame, our inadequacies, our insecurities. We need to accept ourselves and meet us halfway is where we are, so we can forgive ourselves and build, well, you know, the most important relationship is the one with your own self, really, if you come to think about it. And the biggest project is you. So yeah, give life your best shot and just be you. You can only be you.
Thank you very much. That's a wrap.
Thank you.
Thank you. You did really, really good.
Thank you.
Really, really well.